Alrighty, welcome back in, everybody. We appreciate you taking some time for this WTOL 11 Weather Hangout. We've got meteorologist John Burchfield and meteorologist Matt Willoughby along with us, and I'm Chief Meteorologist Chris Vickers. Love that you're joining us here on YouTube or WTOL 11 Plus, keeping you connected to everything weather. And hopefully, guys, people caught the winter weather outlook that we were talking about over the past week. Lots of wintry talk going to be ahead, John.
Yeah, hard to believe we're already in that time of year. We're going to be forecasting snowstorms and bitter cold temperatures, but we're coming back from the Thanksgiving holiday. Hope you had a great holiday with some family and friends. We ended up having nice weather for Thanksgiving.
Oh, it was gorgeous. Loved it.
Yeah.
But, Matt, you kind of feel it. It's slipping away, right?
Yeah,
Fall
I feel it
is just slipping away from
away.
us, and we're going to be talking winter very soon.
Yeah, exactly. Slowly slipping over with those temperatures kind of decreasing even more as we get closer to the month of December, which is coming up actually tomorrow.
And you were, it is hard to believe. Before we get to that, though, you were one of the millions that took to the road for Thanksgiving.
Exactly.
Did you have a great Thanksgiving?
Oh, yeah, it was a great Thanksgiving with some family, friends, and it was actually, I didn't put my jacket on not once when I was down,
Look at that.
down there in Atlanta.
You were down south.
Traveled someplace
Exactly.
warmer.
Yeah, so
We're a little envious, but we had good weather here for Thanksgiving. Of course, we're talking about the Dave's Turkey Chase right outside our WTOL 11 studios.
That was awesome.
It was really cool to see families and multiple generations coming together to enjoy a little movement before that Thanksgiving feast.
A 5K is a perfect way, I always say, to start off Thanksgiving. And we had nearly a record turnout here at our WTOL 11 studios, almost 4,000 that chose to take part in that. So it was great to see that this year as well. Coming up this week, Matt, we've got a busy week.
Oh, yeah, it's been a busy week so far. We got tornadoes, volcanoes, got everything for it. So, yeah, man, it's going to be busy one for the weather hangout.
If you haven't seen this video yet, the volcanic eruption that really has become very active over the past couple of days. Matt, tell us what we're looking at here. Quick tease ahead.
Yeah, so it's quick tease ahead for us. There's some video of the volcano out in Hawaii, Mauna Loa, and I'll be having some more info coming up in just a few minutes. But also got some tornadoes, some severe weather down in Mississippi, Alabama area, and the damage is a lot. And we'll be talking about that and discussing and breaking down what exactly happened down in the Mississippi, Alabama area coming up in just a few minutes.
And John, sites that you don't normally see at this point late November, early December, but they were dealing with severe weather down south.
Yeah, hard to believe they got 30 tornado reports. Of course, severe weather happens all year round down south, but to this magnitude, out of the question and a very rare occurrence.
Yes, exactly. And we'll be talking about all that coming up in just a few minutes. But before that, enjoy this weather fact. See if you can answer this question. Wow, 22,000 feet. That is an incredible, and actually not the largest active one right now. What we have right now is Mauna Loa, which is actually the largest active volcano on Earth right now. That's just out in the Hawaii Islands, and it is some sights to see. Almost, if you've seen Stranger Things, at least season 4, you can see those sights like that, similar to this, where that volcano, you can see that lava flowing, and just around nighttime, it's lighting up the skies with that lava. So similar to Stranger Things, you see where the upside down is coming into the world. But speaking of those Mauna Loa volcano facts, at least for those stats, at least 33 eruptions since 1843. Most recent coming just around 1984. That main threat is ash in the air and at least fog. So the main threat right now isn't lava flowing into those populated areas just yet, but I'm seeing some stunning pictures coming in where you can see this river of lava flowing into that area. And I'll be discussing just in a couple of seconds what that means for those different areas on that island of Hawaii. So looking at it right now, well, that lava is very tall, and you can see some of those pictures coming in. We'll see just a short bit of 65-foot lava fountains, that is, anywhere from 65 to 83 lava fountain height, at least for that area. So these are some pictures right now that you can see even. So a quick depiction of what that VOG means is VOG is that volcanic air pollution that could cause some effects to those populated areas, even your respiratory system as well. It could cause some problems. So make sure if any of you have any family or even visiting Hawaii, that could be a problem for some of those residents as well. So like I said, it's been a bit of at least a quiet volcano for those areas, at least for right now. But as we go into the next couple of days, it'll be something to watch out for as we go throughout the next couple of days, where we'll see even more interruptions or eruptions with this volcano or not. Before we talk about more, here's a fun fact for you.
Well, 1.5 feet of snow in November. Imagine that. Quite the way to kick off the winter season. Now, we'll be recapping the November season. If you're watching this on YouTube or WTOL 11+, it's likely already December. We've turned over the calendars, but let's recap the month of November and what this month had in store. I think one of the ways that you and I together are going to remember this November is one of ups and downs, that roller coaster of temperatures. We hit 76 degrees with that summer-like feel 3 separate occasions. That happened on the 4th, the 5th, and the 10th of November. Of course, we had some contrastingly cold temperatures as well, a wintry chill. Our low temperature on the 20th, 18 degrees. I'm sure many of you would love to go back to those summery temperatures that are representative of this up and down November month. Now, looking at the overall average, we are 2 degrees above average in the temperature department. Of course, 2 degrees doesn't tell the whole story. We have to look at those extremes on both the high end of the spectrum and the low end of the spectrum to understand just how unusual this November is. Now, that weather fun fact talked about one November that brought us 1.5 feet of snow. Of course, this year, not so much. We had our first trace of snow on the 12th of November, and we did get a little bit of light accumulation. This is normal for November. In fact, our normal trace happens right around the middle of the month. Now, we did not get that inch of snowfall, even though we got some slight measurable amounts. Our normal first inch, that happens at the very end of the month of November, where we average our first inch of snowfall. What about rainfall? This month was actually bone dry until the very end. Last Sunday, we tacked onto our rainfall total, bringing us to a little over 2 inches of rain this month. Of course, a very dry weather pattern for the first 3 weeks of November before we got that record 1.67 inches. And that's noteworthy because that makes it our wettest day of the 2022 year so far. That was at Toledo Express Airport. Of course, that accounts for almost the entire monthly rainfall. Just one day brought us back to normal. Now, what about the entire month of November? This year was about 2 degrees above average in the temperature department. And looking back at climate change, and this is something I'll have a little more in-depth explanation of coming up in this week's Climate Friday newsletter, the month of November as a whole is getting warmer. We've warmed up by 1.4 degrees on average in the last decade. So this year fits within the framework of climate change that we understand. And that leads to more moisture and less early season snowfall, which we did not get a whole lot of early season snow. Now, as we flip the calendar into December, yes, snow, cold, and wintry weather is something we'll have to prepare for. And Chief Meteorologist Chris Vickers here to help us look ahead to December. Hey, Chris.
Hey, John, like it or not, we're entering into the winter season. It may come as a little bit of shock to some. Beginning December 1st, we actually consider that the winter season. So I'm going to give you 3 things that you are going to notice through the course of December coming up here. Number 3 is going to be the beginning of meteorological winter. Now, as scientists, we can look at this in a few different ways. Meteorological winter actually begins on December 1st. Now, the reason we do this, it helps with keeping statistics. It is actually defined by the 3 coldest months of the year, which are December, January, and February. Now, this may be compared to astronomical winter, which actually is defined more by the Earth's position relative to the sun That will be on December 21st. But we consider the start of December the official start of meteorological winter. That is one thing that you're going to see as we look forward to into December. Number two, you've noticed it, we continue to lose daylight through the course of November until we get to, or rather December, until we get to December 21st. That is going to be the shortest amount of daylight that we experience over the entire calendar year. December 21st has exactly 9 hours, 9 minutes, and 4 seconds of daylight. Once we get past December 21st, slowly but surely we start to see daylight increase, and that will actually accelerate by the end of the month, especially with our sunset time, which is at 5:03 at the darkest point of the year. And by the end of December, it is going to be 5:13. We will gain 10 minutes of daylight in the evening by the end of December. That is one thing we're looking forward to in the month of December. The number one thing that we're going to be looking forward to in the month of December, hey, what's the chance of a white Christmas this year? Many people already starting to ask that question. Well, at this point, we can only tell you the statistical average. It's around a 35% chance that we could see a white Christmas, give or take. That's about 1 out of every 3 years we see a white Christmas. What is that actually defined by? Most standard definitions are 1 inch of snow on the ground at daybreak on Christmas morning. That chance is around 35% in our area. Now, that last happened in 2020. You may remember that year. Beautiful light snow began to fall on Christmas Eve, and it continued into on and off on Christmas Day. The most snow that we've ever received in the on Christmas Day itself was 1909, a whopping 10.8 inches of snow that was recorded out at Toledo Express Airport. We've got lots to look forward to as we go into the month of December. Those are 3 big things that you will notice. And in the context of our overall winter weather forecast, we talked about this if you were able to catch our winter weather outlook on WTOL 11 Plus or on YouTube. We're in a changing winter climate. December, January, and February are 3 months that typically now average warmer than historical climate normals. The month of December has been generally trending toward drier with less rain and snow, and wetter conditions January and into February, meaning more rain and snow. If you want that full WTOL 11 winter weather outlook, make sure you check it out here on YouTube or on WTOL 11 Plus. Now, don't go anywhere. Before we wrap up, we've got more to come. Take a look at this fun weather fact, and we'll see if you can get the answer.
Wow. Well, man, it's been a busy week in weather, like we said before. We got winter coming up. Not only that, but we also had a severe weather outbreak down in the Mississippi area, some area I'm at least familiar with. And man, it surely was a bit of a damaging scene to see. It's
scary to know that severe weather can happen any time of the year, but especially down across the Gulf Coast states, down into the deep south. This was a tornado that touched down near Bassfield, Mississippi, Tuesday evening. Generally, is what we're looking at here, a wall cloud, the lowering of that wall cloud. Indications there that tornado about ready to form. And unfortunately, there was reports of what looks to be, John, several dozen tornadoes, at least the preliminary reports, including what is expected or what looks to be a fatal tornado, resulting in a couple fatalities in the state of Alabama.
Yeah, really sad to see that those tornadoes prove to be deadly. And of course, severe weather does happen year-round down south. The states of Alabama and Mississippi average about 4 to 5 tornadoes during the month of November. So to have 30 during one outbreak is certainly unusual in this kind of magnitude. And there you can see the tornado on the ground. Wow. Very evident there. We don't get those in November here too often, but of course we got to be on our guard year-round for severe weather, and we'll keep you safe and updated, whatever Mother Nature has in store.
And look at that, that vortex briefly touching the ground, and you
Wow.
still see the spin in that lower layer of the cloud. That is the wall cloud, the precursor to a potential tornado. You see something like that, you need to be in your safe space, because that is something that could be dangerous very quickly. Another thing, Matt, that you could look at, hopefully from a distance as well. Give us a little more about this volcanic eruption that's going on down in the balmy state of Hawaii.
Yeah, so this Hawaii is the volcano Mauna Loa, which just erupted Sunday night. It hasn't been too much impact as far as to any populated areas yet, but we have stunning pictures. Kind of reminds you, if you've seen Stranger Things, kind of reminds you of the Upside Down.
Yeah, it doesn't look real.
Exactly. So we've seen stunning videos, stunning pictures of the lava just flowing, and even fountains of the lava flowing throughout the area, or at least that area on Hawaii, but not expected to have any impacts just yet on any populated areas.
Would you take one of those helicopter tours that at least kind of go nearby some of those lava flows?
I think I would, just to kind of just take it in and just see it, honestly. I mean, that's beautiful.
John?
Yeah, it's surreal to even see the video of it, but to see it in real life, would be unlike anything a weather nerd has ever experienced.
That's pretty incredible. This is the first eruption in 38 years for this particular location on Mauna Loa. How about that? All right, so as we move now forward into the month of December, we're seeing fall slip away. I got to ask, the debate is real this time of year. Most people have their Christmas decorations up. One of the big fixtures of a Christmas debate is, do you go with the real Christmas tree or do you go with the fake Christmas tree? Matt, you have a little history on that.
Yeah, I have a little history on that. For many years, we just did at least the big fake tree with the lights already on there. But then my mom and dad was like, oh, we want to smell the smell of Christmas. So we decided, okay, we're going to do the big, at least 9-foot real tree, so you could just smell it all throughout the house. At least, but one part I still don't like is the kind of the stickiness of it.
The sap, right? It's on your fingers
exactly.
for the next couple of days. John, do you pick out that Clark Griswold style Christmas tree?
Always the Douglas fir. That's a reliable one. It's really good for hanging up the ornaments. So we went to the White House Christmas tree farm.
Beautiful.
Matt said he got a 9-footer. That's a little bit above our grade this year with prices going up. We got a nice 7.5-footer. Of course, that smell, hard to beat that. And I know there's a lot of talk about what's more environmentally friendly, and I think real trees are actually great for the environment. Those plastic trees would take many, many years to of reuse to be able to compare, but they're both great, and whatever gets you in the holiday spirit, they're both beautiful and wonderful in their own way.
I do love the smell, Matt. You said the smell of them. That is one thing that just kind of really lifts the spirit and the mood. Do you know that Dan Cummins told me that he goes with the fake tree, and he said he gets a little air freshener that mimics the smell of a real Christmas tree.
The Glade plug-in.
The Glade plug-in. And I said, sir, no thank you. That does not cut it in the Vickers household. You may choose the fake Christmas tree. John mentioned, though, the environmental impacts of that. Maybe something that you could consider with that when you go toward that debate versus the real or fake Christmas tree. I do have some pictures that I could share with you. This was my family and I picking out our Christmas trees. We could take this over on Max 1. And we went this past weekend as well. John went out to White House Christmas Tree Farm. I
Santa
love,
Claus, too.
and I'm on the good list this year. He told me. The kids got to go out and got to see Santa as well.
Looks like a beautiful day for it with the blue skies in the background.
Don't judge. You want to know when we went?
Was it Black Friday?
Right around noon on Saturday, because we figured the crowds would be down.
Wait,
with
noon?
the
There was a certain game going on.
A certain Ohio State Michigan.
That's actually smart, though.
It was smart.
Very
we had
strategic.
Beautiful sunny skies.
Nobody out there.
Love the
Nice.
tradition of grabbing that tree, picking that one out. Of course,
yeah.
there's some family arguments always which one's the best. But Sam and I lugged it out of the tree farm, and we were able to
Good
bring it home.
memories. Good memories. We went at noon on Black Friday, and it was totally packed, of course. So
One of the busiest times of the year.
Yeah.
Well, can you tell we're into the holiday season?
Oh yeah, I'm ready, and I can definitely tell with the temperatures as well. Getting a little cold, but of course we'll be a little up and down.
Good reminder, if you missed it, our WTOL 11 winter weather special, our winter weather outlook. It is live right now on YouTube or on WTOL 11 Plus. John also dived deep into Climate Friday. John, what's coming up this week on Climate Friday?
yeah, talking about how winters are becoming a little bit wetter on average, and that doesn't necessarily mean more snowfall. Snow lovers, we're getting more rain as well, and of course La Nina plays a role in that. We're going to break down the impacts of both weather and climate on our winter weather and what you can expect this year. And that ties into our winter weather forecast, of course. We haven't gotten much snow yet, but we're due for a couple storm systems. Will those bring rain, snow, wintry mix? Time will tell.
I can't wait to hear more about that,
Yeah,
John. And
I
if you
can't
haven't
wait.
seen any of John's Climate Fridays, please go ahead and check those out. You can dive deep into some topics that you don't always see and how they impact us here locally. Matt, another great weather hangout.
Another great one, 10th episode.
10th episode.
Wow.
Cheers, bells, whistles, right? Congratulations. We thank you for being part of this week's Weather Hangout. We'll see you next week.